All right, cheers and greetings. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 125, coming to you from the Pine Room Watchdog Studio, downtown Wheeling here on a fabulous Friday. Lots of action going on. We got Sweet 16, day number 2, and a whole weekend of Elite 8 games, 2 and 2, and they'll be set for the Final Four. Hard to believe the tournament just started, and in a blink of an eye, we're already half done with it. So we'll see if we can find some winners. In the meantime, we'll discuss the games from last week and what's on the card for this week. So hopefully you're having a good start to your weekend. Hopefully you had a successful journey last week by listening to Bettor's Last Stand, had a few winners, and you're ready to go as the winter weather comes back for a little bit out here in Wheeling. It's a little chilly, little windy the last couple days, but I don't mind it. Not really a big fan of spring, so we'll enjoy the little chill while we can. Baseball season underway as well as the opening day for the domestic opening day here on Thursday of this week. And we got games going on today and all weekend. So baseball, full steam ahead. We got lots to talk about when it comes to baseball too. I'll recap all the plays that we've given out over the last few weeks here, futures, and have some plays for you up at BLS_PRP for the weekend. Pitching matchups were set for Thursday. Don't really know who's going yet for Friday. I can kind of foresee a few of the matchups, but not really sure how they'll be priced yet. So not going to give anything out on the show yet today, but I will have them on there. So BLS_PRP is where you want to be. You'll have my golf picks. As always, you can get those on Wednesday, and anything from AFL or EPL or any of the other leagues that play before Friday, before in between the times where we tape the show and we air the show. So be sure to check out BLS_PRP on Twitter or X. All right, so show 125 is underway. Recapping some of our plays from show number 124, which was last week, and another productive week. Not great by any means, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you this was a good week because it definitely wasn't. But we were a little bit ahead. We were up 14.35 units on the week. It's not awful. It's definitely not good, but it's not awful. At least we're in the positive once more. We were 4-0 in F1. One area, if you just like the F1 plays and you tailed us there, we slammed the door shut on F1. We went 4-0 in our F1 plays. We had Oscar Piastri to win and be on the podium. We had what else did we have? Oh boy, I know we had Williams double top 10, and then we had Kimi Antonelli in the top 6 again. So he's impressed me so far, no doubt about it. The Williams team has been pretty good. I like the way that their cars are moving. So they're going to be a team that's going to be dancing around the top 10s all season long. And Oscar Piastri, who, in my opinion, is going to end up being the better driver of the McLaren twosome. Not to take anything away from Lando Norris, but as I said before, Lando Norris didn't start winning races till like last year at a high percentage. And Piastri's only in his third year here, and he really was completely new to the circuit 2 years ago, and now is like last year he started to have a breakout party, and this year I would expect him to contend potentially for a championship here. So we'll see how he continues to progress, but we get the job done with Piastri, so that was a good one. We were very good in Formula One. We were up a little bit in NASCAR, had top 5 and a couple of top 10s there. Still couldn't put a guy in the winner's circle. Golf, not good. We had, I think maybe 8 of our 10 selections missed the cut, so it wasn't good. We did do all right with the other guys that we had in the top 10 and the top 20. So it wasn't a complete loss at golf, but we were just scratched out a little above even there with a couple of plays at decent prices. So AFL, we were 8-7 plus 240 on the winner with North Melbourne, who I'm sporting the Kangaroos shirt here today. Great win by North Melbourne. They're an 18-point dog, beat their rivals, the Melbourne Demons. Kind of thought that would happen, so hopefully you got on that play and got them at a nice price. Kid played the game over, plus the points and the money line. We did the trifecta on that one, so congrats to the Kangaroos. We'll talk AFL later in the program. ATP and WTA tennis going on in Miami. It's been a really good month for tennis because you get Indian Wells at the beginning of March, and then you get the Miami Open at the end of March, and it's nice to just have tennis in our time zone, even when it wasn't in our time zone, but in our hemisphere, and then in our time zone now in Miami before they get ready to head back to start clay court season and get ready for the French Open. So 4-1 on the Miami Open plays. Got Sasha Zverev right now, a guy we gave out to win the tournament. He now has a really good path now. The only guy really standing in his way is Novak Djokovic, who got the job done again last night and has a very favorable setup going forward. He will take on, I believe, Sebastian Korda next. So by the time you hear this, hopefully Joker is punching his ticket into the semifinals maybe. And then I imagine he and Zverev are on a collision course to meet in the final. So we shall see at the Miami Open, but some good tennis going on there as well. We got Sabalenka in action. She's played very well. Coco Gauff was one that I thought would be a little bit better. She was upset the other day, so that was a tad bit of a surprise, but nonetheless a very, very good Miami Open so far. Women's basketball, we were 6-7 on the weekend in our side and total plays in the games. Men's basketball, 15-15. Imagine that. It was not a pretty Thursday. It was not a pretty stretch of Friday and Saturday, but then we picked it back up to where we could at least get to even par. We told you weeks and weeks and weeks ago about Arkansas, about Ole Miss, about Texas Tech, and here we are, all three of those teams moving on. So we had some future tickets on those teams. We cashed a few other future tickets with, I believe, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Arkansas all making it to the Sweet 16. Or maybe it may have been Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Texas Tech, I believe it was. So those were teams that we talked about earlier in the season, like way, way, way back January probably, or very early February, about these teams, massive prices. Maybe they start out a little slow, but they have great coaches. Calipari outduels Rick Pitino, and he's taking a lot of flack for not being a great in-game coach, but he had his team ready to go. It was a very impressive performance. St. John's just kind of wore down. Their body count was rising. It was just injury after injury for them, but still a really good season for them. Ole Miss playing as good as anybody right now. I think they're going to really, really be a tough out the rest of the way, and the winner of the Texas Tech-Arkansas game, to me, is a dangerous team going forward. We'll talk about those games and more, but 15-15 in our plays. We got 5 of our 8 women's futures still remaining, and in the men's, as I said, we got 6 of 8, and we did have Kentucky, Texas Tech, and Ole Miss were the ones that we cashed so far. So not a terrible start, definitely not great, but we'll take it at this point. NHL, I gave some NHL plays out last week, some teams that I thought were dangerous, and I want to elaborate on that a little bit more because I made an effort. I said I wasn't sure about the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I made an effort to watch them in a couple of games this week, including one against the Penguins, which I'm not going to take a whole lot out of. They actually lost a couple of games, but they played very well in defeat. The depth of this team is starting to become very evident, which we already knew, but they have a really good third and fourth line, and actually probably not as good as they had when they won the Cup a few years ago, but at least their top 3 lines are about as good as anybody in the league, and Vasilevsky's form's starting to come back a touch. So I'm thinking that Tampa is going to be a team that I'm going to include on some of my Stanley Cup Finals exactas. So I went ahead and put in a couple of exactas over the last couple of days. I put the Lightning to face the Golden Knights of Vegas in the final. That you can get about 42-1 on that one. And then also put Washington in there against Vegas, also at about 42-1. Tampa's 5-1 to win the East, 11-1 to win the Stanley Cup. And also thought maybe the LA Kings worth a little bit of a sniff. I'm not sure they have the offense, but if they were able to get really, really great goaltending at some point, which you know how this can go in a hockey playoffs, there's always an outside chance that a goalie gets incredibly hot and can lead you to places that you didn't expect to go, just basically carrying the team. I'll see J.S. Jaguar several years ago. It's got to be 20 years ago now, but he took the Ducks all the way to the finals in basically a one-man team to where they took on the Devils. And I believe Jaguar was the MVP of that series in a defeat, which is really, you don't see that very often. But I think Tampa Bay is a lively team, and I'm starting to think that the Kings at 9-1 to win the West and 20-1 to win the Cup are maybe worth a bit of action, but that is a very, very difficult Western Conference. The East, not so difficult. Florida doesn't look like they got it right now. They might just have played too much hockey lately. It happens to everyone. It happened to the Penguins. It happened to Washington. It happened to the Blackhawks even further back. It happened to L.A. once before with their big run of success. And it's happened to Tampa where these guys just play. When you're making the finals, losing in the finals, making the finals and winning, making the finals and winning. I mean, Florida now has played in the finals the last 2 seasons, and last year's was a lot of force exerted to hold off Edmonton. But, it just comes to a point where maybe they just play too many games, and maybe they're just wearing out, and maybe a quick off season or a quick exit in a longer offseason benefits them to come back strong next year. I know that the management and the coaches and the players will tell you that isn't a thing, but it definitely is. If you watch these games long enough, you'll see these guys, their bodies just fall apart, and they got to have recovery time. And even guys, the Penguins had it firsthand. I saw every game. And it's just by the end of the time where they finally got beat by Washington in 2018, you could see it. Like they were done. They had played in the finals back-to-back seasons, and just a ton of hockey, a ton of long series, and it wears you out. So Florida, to me right now, is probably a pass. I'm not saying that they can't win it, but I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to play them. It'll be very hard for them to continue this on and make it to the Stanley Cup Finals for the third year in a row, and maybe try to win the second one. But third year in a row, that's going to be a tad bit difficult. But we'll see. They are a very good team, and we'll see what they do. Paul Maurice is a very good coach, so we'll see if they can get rejuvenated come playoff time. Playoff hockey right around the corner, so we're excited about that. Also, right around the corner is opening day weekend here. So the Pirates will be on the road. They are on the road, actually, yesterday at the Marlins, and they'll be there for the next few days and before they return home for their opener next week. All right, so baseball to me is obviously it's definitely not a sprint. It's a long season. You got a lot of bets to make. You got daily grinds. You got things that you start to take into account, and you got to figure out what's going to work best for you as a handicapper. You got to decide, am I good at looking at player stuff and figuring out, pitching matchups and things like that, where a guy can maybe get home runs or total bases or whatever it is you're going to try to attack. But what you want to do is you want to try to figure out what you're good at, and you want to stick with that. And you do not want to spread too thin. You don't want to go and do 6 different types of bets on one game, because I doubt that any of us are good at 6 different types of things. And, when it comes to baseball, as Nick Bogdanovich, bookmaker, Hall of Famer, would say, you have to basically hate yourself to bet this sport, and it's time to get out the whiskey and the revolver, as he would say, is some of the beats in baseball are just as agonizing as there is in sports. But hey, we do it because we love it, and baseball's a daily grind. I enjoy it quite a bit, but it does get frustrating at times, and you got to try to find angles where maybe you have a leg up, whether it's first 5 innings, there's first 3 innings now, there's the Yerfies and Nerfies, that's yes run in the first inning, no run in the first inning. There's so much data out there to encompass this in your betting, but what you can't avoid, and what algorithms will never be able to avoid in all kinds of advanced statistics, it won't matter, is a guy hits a batter unexpectedly and it leads to a rally, or for whatever reason a guy gets squeezed and he walks a guy and it leads to a rally. You can't predict that kind of stuff. You can look at the home plate umpires, you can see which home plate umpires favor pitchers and which ones don't. All that stuff is available on a daily basis. So before you start diving in here headfirst into baseball, start getting a battle plan together about what interests you and where you think maybe you have a eye for the game. Because if you just go out there and start building same-game parlays in baseball, you're going to lose a lot of money. You're not going to win very many times, because it's really, really hard to synchronize all the things that you're going to have to get right in a baseball game. As everybody knows, there's more outcomes in a baseball game than any other sporting event that we play in this world. There's more outcomes that could happen in baseball than any other sport, and you have to try to find where it is that you're going to have an advantage. So start out slow. Start looking through all the markets on the various books. Have other books. Have 5 or 6 sports books available to you all the time. We're in West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, wherever you are here in the tri-state area, or if you're outside of the area, go into another state if you have to. If I got to go over into Ohio to get an angle on something, then you do it, or Pennsylvania, whatever. If you have the time, do it. If you're out, just making a trip, you're going to a grocery store over in Ohio or wherever, you're going to Washington, PA for something, pop up in your app when you're in the parking lot and check out a few things and see if you can find something that has a little bit of value outside of the state of West Virginia, because there's differences. I'll talk about it more when we talk basketball, but massive differences I noticed again this week in the March Madness. And when I have 4 or 5 different books open, you can get better numbers. I mean, I'm talking 2-point edges on some of these games. And for us at 15-15, it mattered a lot. We needed every edge that we could get. But baseball right around the corner. the opening weekend. It's exciting to have it back, and we look forward to it. Just recapping the plays. I gave these out last week as well that we're on from a future standpoint. Royals over their win total of 82.5. The Reds over 68.5 wins. We bet that back. I think it's into the 70s now. Giants over 79.5 wins. The Nationals over 69.5 wins. The Twins under 83.5. The Cubs under 87.5. AL Central champions Kansas City Royals at 4-1. We got that way back there in January. NL Central champions Cincinnati Reds at 6-1. We bet the Washington Nationals, Cincinnati Reds, and the San Francisco Giants all at good plus numbers to make the playoffs. We had some early February add-ons. We bet the Pirates to finish last in the Central Division at plus 230. We bet Paul Skeens to have over 220 strikeouts, which you can still find at a plus price, I believe. I checked yesterday at a couple of spots. The Red Sox to make the playoffs, yes, at even money. Really like that bet. I think you're going to start seeing some steam on it. The only thing that worries me now is that they're starting to become a popular team. Jarren Duran to have 30 steals. I bet that one the other day at a very good price. It actually was a better price than when I priced it the first time. Jarren Duran MVP. It's a 30-1. It's a long shot. But if the Red Sox are to win the East, and they are, they win 100 games, so he could be very live. He's a very exciting player if you haven't seen him yet. Tristan Cassis to hit 30 home runs for the Red Sox. Got him. Garrett Crochet for the Red Sox to lead the league in wins at 22-1. Also like Cole Reagans from the Kansas City Royals at 28-1. Michael King for the Padres. Really impressed with this guy. 55-1 to lead the league in strikeouts. And Brandon Pfaadt from the Diamondbacks at 90-1 to lead the league in strikeouts. Those were plays that we gave out a while back. And then we added our division plays in the last couple of weeks. The AL East. I bet Boston and the Orioles. I don't love the Orioles. Their back end of their bullpen is going to be really good again. There's probably 7th and 8th with Cionel Perez and Cano and Bautista. That's pretty good, but their starting pitching is a serious concern once more. And their lineup's a little bit banged up right now. Gunnar Henderson's out for a couple weeks. They still got enough hitting, I think, and they can manufacture. They got guys who can steal bases and things like that. So I think they'll be in this. Boston, though, at plus 350, a little bit better buy. Baltimore at plus 270. I bet them both to win the AL East. I bet the Royals, of course, to win the NL Central. I bet the Mariners to win the AL West. I think they're going to put it all together this year, the Mariners. I really, truly think that. Astros, they're on a plateau or a decline. Texas, I think, will come back a little bit. They had a really rough World Series hangover type year. But I think the Mariners are going to be the team that's going to have. They got great pitching. Their lineup comes together at all. I think they're going to have a very, very nice year. NL East, I bet the Braves at plus 110. I know a lot of people love the Phillies, but like I said last week, I think the Phillies' time window has passed a little bit. Like this is like literally the last one. Like the window's cracked like very little because they got some guys in walk years here. So I would be a little worried about the Phillies. Mets, don't know what to expect from them. I think they'll be good, but maybe not great. Reds at plus 650 to win the Central, as we bet that one way back. Playoff teams, Diamondbacks, Nationals. I already bet Washington once. We added the Diamondbacks, who I think are a very good team. Cincinnati as well, and San Francisco, even if they don't win the division. San Francisco's not going to win a division, but I like what San Francisco did. I mean, they keep trying to, and they'll add at the deadline if they can. So that's a good thing. Cy Young, we had Crochet and Skubal in the American League. Crochet at 550, Skubal at 3-1. Skeens is probably going to win the Cy Young for sure. But I thought Corbin Burns was interesting. Back in the National League on a good Diamondbacks team. And you never know about the Pirates, how things could work out. Possibly Burns at 12-1 I thought was worth a play. AL Rookie of the Year, of course, I played Jacob Wilson, Jack Wilson's son for the A's. He's 13-1. I think that's a very very live ticket. I think he's going to do a very good job for the Sacramento A's. That's weird to say. And then in the NL, I didn't really bet anything here. Sasaki and Cruz likely going to be the Rookies of the Year in the NL. We'll talk college hoops towards the tail end of the program. Let's jump into some golf right now here. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 125 from the Watchdog Pine Room Studios in downtown Wheeling. Getting you ready for another action-packed weekend. You got basketball, you got baseball added to the card, you got hockey, you got NBA basketball, which no one will care about, golf, of course, NASCAR. I mean, we got everything going on, so it's a good time of year for sports. All right, let's get into the Shriners Houston Open. It was not a pretty golf card for us last week. We said a few weeks ago, Victor Hovland, we just couldn't back him because his game was a mess. He said Friday in an interview that he didn't know where the ball was going, and here he comes out of nowhere and wins at 80-1. So can't say that you're surprised because the guy's incredibly talented, but he changed his swing and his clubs and all that stuff. It's on like his third or fourth swing coach in the last 2 years. So Victor Hovland maybe trying to figure a few things out. I'm not sure that wasn't just lightning in a bottle though for that, because he did not seem very confident that he had figured it out. It just worked out for him on that particular weekend. But he gets the job done at 80-1. Wish we had a piece of that. We were not good in golf again last week, but that's okay. We're going to try to get back in the win column this week. So we're at the Memorial Park Municipal Golf Course. That's in Houston, Texas. And again, if you want these plays early before the round 1 and 2 start, BLS_PRP, you can get him each week. Tony Finau, we're on him at 33-1. He's played very well here. He had a win and a runner-up here in the last couple of years. Very, very good. I thought Sahith Theegala starting to show some signs of snapping out of his funk. He's 55-1. I think that's worth a look here in a field that's not great. Let's see. What else do we got? Mackenzie Hughes, 80-1. He's been really good at this course. Now, he's a guy that's feast or famine. He usually either tears the course apart and is on the first page of the leaderboard or the second page, or he misses the cut by 10 shots. So we'll take a shot with the Canadian Mackenzie Hughes at 80-1. And let's see, what else do we got here? Jake Knapp, we've been riding him. You know Jake Knapp's going to break through. He had the 59. He was flirting around with a chance to win that tournament a few weeks ago. Couldn't get it done. Like him at 80-1. Still think that's a very, very good price on Jake Knapp. Aaron Rai, he's been playing really good here. He plays good at this course, but he's been playing very good this season. He's got 3 top 20s here, which is very good. He's 25-1. We're going to take a shot with him. Aldrich Potgitar, he was in the mix too for a win for us a few weeks ago at a massive price. He's a big price this week, 150-1. I think he is a guy whose form has been pretty good, and once he starts to get a little bit more comfortable on these North American courses, I think he could be a guy that could break through. Davis Thompson, been an up-and-down kind of guy. We've had him several times. He's been in the mix. Other times he's not shown well. He's got good form going right now. He's 25-1. I think he makes some sense. Michael Kim, we've been on him the last several weeks. We'll go with him again at 33-1. I think he could be a guy that could at least be in the top 20 here. Scotty Scheffler, of course, the favorite at plus 350. I'm just not burning money on Scotty Scheffler right now. His form not up to the standards that we usually see, and you can't take a price of 3.5-1 on a guy who's not playing great. Rory McIlroy in this field as well. He's around 7.5-1. Don't love him either. I think he'll be tuning up for the Masters. A couple of guys worth a look. Minwoo Lee, I think he's starting to get it squared away. Koreans have played well at this course in the past. He's Korean descent. He's Australian too. But Minwoo, I think, will be a guy that could be in the mix on Sunday. And then a couple of guys that are the very under the radar type plays. Although Alex Smalley, we gave him out a few weeks ago. So Alex Smalley, his game's been good. He's 55-1. He's been right up there in the top 10 quite a bit this year. So we take a shot with him. Isaiah Salinda, 125-1. His game starting to come along. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of him, and he if he can put it all together, could be a guy who could be a top 20, top 10 in a very big price. And then Alejandro Tosti, and he is a guy that's kind of new to the circuit here, but I've read a little bit about him and been seeing his name popping up. His game is decent, and if he putts well, he might have a shot of hanging in here. So I know a couple other golf handicappers gave him out as well this week, so they obviously know a lot more than I do. So we'll go with Alejandro Tosti, and he's 250-1. So you got to love that price. But again, our plays for this week at the Shriners, this isn't the Shriners, this is just the Texas Children's Open. Sorry. Tony Finau, 33-1. Sahith Theegala, 55-1. Alejandro Tosti, 250-1. Mackenzie Hughes at 80-1. Minwoo Lee at 33-1. Isaiah Salinda at 125-1. Davis Thompson at 25-1. Aldrich Potgitar, 150-1. Jake Knapp, 80-1. Aaron Rai, 25-1. Alex Smalley, 55-1. And Michael Kim, 33-1. That's a lot of plays, but if you hit one of them, you're going to more than break even, so that's the way you got to attack it. If you want to play top 10s, top 5s, top 20s, you can parlay those at a lot of the books now, so hunt around for that too. If you find books that don't pay out dead heats, like as in the not dead heats, you want to try to book your golf there. But there's massive differences in these prices. I'm talking $30, $40 differences in these. If you go around and hunt, you can have all the apps pulled up on your computer, find them, find the guys, which book the guy has the best odds at, and you can put together some decent golf action for your weekend portfolio. UFL football. Yeah, how about that here on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 125 here on the Watchdog Network. It's UFL football. Feels like we just ended regular football season, and now we're talking UFL. I don't have a lot to contribute here to the UFL discussion, but I will recap you on a few things. Birmingham defeated San Antonio last year in the finals. It was a 25-0 win. Birmingham went 9-1 on the season. San Antonio was 7-3. Wade Phillips was the coach of San Antonio. Skip Holtz was the coach of Birmingham. And we get it kicked off on Friday here. So tonight at 8 o'clock, St. Louis Battlehawks and the Houston Roughnecks. It'll be St. Louis -6. The total 37.5 here. And the Roughnecks not expected to be very good, as you can tell, catching 6 at home. They're 22-1 to win it all, while St. Louis is about 3.5 to 1 or so. And they're a pretty hefty favorite here. Manny Wilkins is their quarterback. Nolan Henderson quarterbacks Houston. The total in this game, of course, 37.5. On Saturday, it's a 4 o'clock kickoff on Fox. It'll be the San Antonio Brahmas and the Arlington Renegades. San Antonio, a 3-point road favorite. The total 37.5. They have Kellen Munn as their quarterback. Luis Perez is the quarterback for the Arlington Renegades. 6-1 you can get on San Antonio to win the league this year, while 11-1 is available on Arlington. Sunday, a doubleheader, 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock on ESPN. The 12 o'clock game, the Michigan Panthers taking on the Memphis Showboats. Michigan -3.5 on the road. The total 38.5. Danny Etling, the quarterback for Michigan. Troy Williams, the quarterback for Memphis. Memphis is a dog here. Michigan's about 6.5 to 1 to win it all. Memphis 20-1 to win it all. Just a 3-point dog against Michigan. So neither one of those teams expected to be among the best. And then you got the Birmingham Stallions and Matt Corral, their quarterback. They are the defending champions. They're laying 7 on the road at the DC Defenders. The total 41.5 in this game. Birmingham +190 to win the league. +650 you can get on the DC Defenders. So I went back and I went through my notes of what I gave out last year, and I feel like I was a little bit more ready for these games last year. Maybe just this year's just so, I don't know what it is. It just seems like each year it gets harder and harder. You got more things to fill out the sports calendar. But to my point, last year's week 1, all 4 games went under the total. The average score was 36 points. The highest amount of points scored in any of those games was 41. So you got a 37.5, a 37.5, a 38.5, and a 41.5. I would lean towards the unders once again here, but I will say this. As these teams have a little bit of chemistry from the previous year, a few of them return quarterbacks, perhaps the offenses are a little bit better out of the gate. But I'm going to err towards the side of caution here, and I'm going to probably play these games under, and I'm going to watch them when I'm available to watch them and hopefully get involved in play. Hopefully I can get a little bit of action in on the game tonight. See how it's going, see how it's trending, which teams are going to be run heavy, which teams are going to be pass heavy. You can find all that in play, maybe the way to go here in the UFL. But again, all 4 games last year in week 1 were unders with an average of 36 points. So every total, at least 37.5 this week in the UFL. All right, let's shift over to some racing now as the F1 boys will take a week off this week, but we'll recap the Chinese Grand Prix. We'll be in Japan next week. So they were in Australia a couple of weeks ago, then we were in China last week, and then we'll head to Japan next week. Oscar Piastri cashes for us here on Bettor's Last Stand. Again, we were up +855 in our plays in F1. We were 4-0 in those plays, sweeping the board with Piastri a win, Piastri on the podium, Kimi Antonelli with a top 6 finish, and the Williams boys, Alexander Albon and Carlos Sainz, both in the top 10 for Williams, cashing for a nice plus price as well. Piastri dominated the race. He led 53 laps, beat out his teammate Lando Norris, who finished second. He led just 2 laps. You got Alex Albon leading 1 lap. George Russell was third. Max Verstappen was 4th. So what I can take away from this so far, McLaren's the team to beat. I think Mercedes and Red Bull are right on their heels. Ferrari seems a little bit slow right now, and I think you kind of hear that from the words of the Ferrari guys, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, who both were actually disqualified from this race. So that is a big story as well. So both Ferraris disqualified, as well as Pierre Gasly for some illegal modifications. What that means is Ferrari's desperate, and they're trying to basically cheat any way they can and not get caught to try to stay up with McLaren, Mercedes, and to some extent Red Bull. So we'll keep an eye on it. I will say that the Antonelli and Mercedes, I think this guy, he keeps getting better. He's got two top sixes in his first two starts in F1, and that is not an easy thing to do. I don't care how good your car is. That's not an easy thing to do, so keep an eye on him. Nothing for us in F1 this week, but we do have the Japanese Grand Prix for you next week. We'll talk about that on next week's show. Lando Norris plus 145. Oscar Piastri, though, who had been opening up around 330, 350 range, down to 175 now. So the gap is closing, as we said. It might be time to fire on old Piastri to maybe win the championship here in F1. Not sure yet, but maybe if he has an off week next time and there's a little bit of a spike in price, would be the time to get in on it. All right, switching racing circuits. No IndyCar again this week. Several weeks off for IndyCar. They did this race that wasn't even a real race last week at the Thermal Club out in California. I don't know. They'll be in Long Beach here in a couple weeks, but I don't know what IndyCar's doing. They had this really cool thing set up with the double headers. They go early. NASCAR goes late. It's a really good thing for race fans, but they've, as usual, screwed it up. But back to the task at hand. Let's figure out a way to get a guy into victory lane in NASCAR. That has not been easy for us. We have struggled there. We've had good picks. We just can't get any racing luck. I have some monster prices finishing second. That did not happen this week. Alex Bowman, he started on the pole, is a guy that you respect the heck out of, but his price dropped down way too low to play him. He gets outdueled by his teammate, Kyle Larson, who only leads 19 laps but gets the job done. Rick Hendrick runs 1-2 at Homestead last week. We had Denny Hamlin. He was 5th. We had A.J. Allmendinger. He was 7th. We had Ryan Preece. He was 9th. He got great prices on Allmendinger and Preece to finish in the top 10. We cashed those tickets, so we were happy there. That's why we were a little ahead in NASCAR, and we'll take it. Denny Hamlin starting to get his game and his car into form a little bit. All right, so we go from Homestead, and we make the trip up north to our first short track of the season. It's Martinsville Speedway, Martinsville, Virginia. The paperclip, as they call it, will be where we head this weekend. And it's good to be at a nice short track here. I will say the prices irritate me quite a bit. You got some guys that are really, really low prices. You got Ryan Blaney at plus 425. And Ryan Blaney's DNF'd, I think, the last 3 weeks, which is very uncharacteristic of him. Would you expect him to bounce back? Absolutely. But at that price, man, I just don't know. I actually hope he doesn't qualify well, so maybe he could get a little bit better price so we can buy in late on him. But it's hard to take. That's a really, really hard price to swallow there. But last year in this race, back in April, William Byron won the race. He led 88 laps. Hendrick absolutely dominated this race. Rick Hendrick's team, the Chevys, the four Chevys that he had, they all ran in the top 10. He ran 1, 2, 3. Byron, Larson, and Elliott. Byron led 88 laps, as I said, in the Chevrolet. Larson 86 and Elliott 64. Then he dropped down to 8th position, and it was Alex Bowman coming in at 8th for Hendrick. So really strong cars for the Hendrick boys. I think a bet that makes a lot of sense this weekend is Chevy to win the race at plus 130, or if you want to get even a little more specialized, if a Chevy wins this race, there's a really good shot that it's going to be one of these Hendrick Chevrolets. And I really think at plus 170, it's worth a nibble for sure. See, I don't want to bet. If I'm going to bet something like that, I'd like to have 4 cars available, because betting Kyle Larson at 4-1 and William Byron at 5-1, there's too many things that can go wrong there for such a short price. If you're doing this across the board for Hendrick, they won last week. Bowman ran good enough to win last week. You got guys with live cars. They've been great at Martinsville. So you ask, what happened the last race in Martinsville? Well, that was the spring race that we just talked about. But last year in the fall, Rick Hendrick ran 2, 3, 6, and 13. Bowman was 13th. Byron was 6th, but he led 46 laps. Larson was 3rd, led 71 laps, and had the best car that day. Chase Elliott probably had the second best car that day with 129 laps led. And Ryan Blaney, with great pit strategy and a great last run, led 32 laps and won that race. Very good performance by Blaney, who's really good here, so I can't knock him at all. One area that I would say is a concern, the Toyotas have not been great here in the last couple of races. So Toyota had just 1 car in the top 10. In the fall race, they had just 2 in the top 10 in last year's spring race with Bubba Wallace. He did finish 4th, and Tyler Reddick was 7th. So I think Toyotas might be a tad bit of a fade. I like Brad Keselowski, but he's driving a Ford, and I'm not sure that he can get the job done. He led 170 laps here in the fall, so that's a strong sign from the Fords, and they did win. So I think Brad Keselowski's live at 27-1. He's getting ignored. He's got a 13.3 all-time average. That is very, very good. I think that the Hendrick cars are going to be very tough to beat, so we're going to be going with Rick Hendrick's team to win at plus 170. We're going to go with Chevy to be in victory lane at plus 130. We will take Brad Keselowski at 27-1 because that's just too good of a price on a guy who's very, very proven. And a couple of guys maybe a little under the radar. Chase Briscoe, because he's in the Truex car now, the 19, and he's ran well here in the past. His prices are going down immensely. Being on Joe Gibbs Racing's whole different story from where he was. So he's 11-1. I want to see where he qualifies at. I can't take 11-1 on him. I will consider it. I will say if I can find a better price, if I can find a 15 out there or something, then I'll probably fire on Briscoe. And then Ryan Preece, who again we told you at the beginning of the year, he's on RFK now. He's got good equipment. This dude's a good racer. He's always ran well at the super speedways because you can. It's kind of a great equalizer. You could actually even out the field there. But now he's getting equipment that can get him competitive each and every week, and he's doing great. Chris Buescher, the other part of that team, there's Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, and Ryan Preece are all on the same team. All those cars, I think Keselowski's been probably the weakest of them all lately, and he's the most proven guy ever. Buescher's just been phenomenal. He's not been good at this track in the past, so we're not going to take a shot with him. But Ryan Preece has at 26-1. I think he's worth a shot, at least for a top 10 or a top 5. So we'll go with Ryan Preece again, and then a guy. There's a massive price here. And I'm not saying that he'll win this race, but I'm going to be very curious to see where he qualifies because he only had one start here. And back in the days where before they had the shifting on the steering wheels, which you still have to shift, it's gear shifting. I was always surprised when you hear the drivers talking about how similar certain tracks are, where you have guys who are good road racers would be good at Martinsville. Some would, some wouldn't. Some who were great shifters on road courses were not good at a place like this where you got to shift a lot. Shane Van Gisbergen looks like a guy who was very good when he has to shift a lot. And at this track, it seemed to fit him. He finished well here in the top 10 his first start. I'm thinking you're seeing some signs of improvement of him just learning more about the whole NASCAR circuit as he's in this for his second full year, his third year, at least bits and pieces of a third year. So I think Shane Van Gisbergen at 240-1, at least for a top 10, at least possibly for a top 5. You can get very, very good prices on him in either one of those markets. So I thought Van Gisbergen was sneaky here. You're going to see some guys who tend to run on good big speedways. It's weird. Like Eric Almirola was an example. A guy I love to play. If you watch the show way back, I'm always playing him at Daytona and Talladega because he's such a great restrictor plate racer. And then Martinsville, this tiny little paperclip, which is you could fit like 75 Martinsvilles inside of like Talladega. Maybe more than that. Probably more than that. But then he was really good here. So just certain tracks, it's weird how they coincide with another one, even if the size doesn't even compare at all. So Shane Van Gisbergen, a road racing extraordinaire. I think this is a track where road racing guys can perform at a high level. And another thing that I always thought was interesting, tracks like this, when Martinsville, Richmond, you hear drivers say, I either love that track or I hate that track. And you try to find guys who seem like they might love it. And I think Van Gisbergen might be a guy who ends up loving Martinsville. So we'll take a shot with him. So again, recapping our plays, Brad Keselowski, 27-1. We're going with Chevy to win it at plus 130. We're going with Hendrick Motorsports to win it at plus 170. Ryan Preece, 26-1. Chase Briscoe, on the fence about that one. If we can get a 12-15, we'll probably take a shot with him. And Shane Van Gisbergen at 240-1. Ryan Blaney's going to be strong. Larson's going to be strong. Chase Elliott only at 6-1. I just can't pull the trigger on those guys. If you see a chance, by chance, one of these Hendrick cars qualifies poorly, or it has a decent practice and then qualifies poorly, and maybe get them at double-digit price, I'd fire away on that, and I'll make those notes on the Twitter page. So BLS_PRP is where you want to be to follow us on our plays all week long, even the plays that you may miss out here on the show. Moving along, we talked a little bit about tennis. We got Sabalenka still in action in Miami. Jesse Pagula and Emma Raducanu are about to play a match that will determine the women's finals and semifinals. Zverev, we had Zverev looking like he was going to cruise to a win here against Arthur Fields, and he is not. Fils has now won he's not won the second set yet, but he's getting close. And we got Djokovic live as well. Matteo Berrettini, keep an eye on him. His game's starting to come back. He was a runner-up at a couple majors before and just could never beat Joker. His game, he's hurt for a while, and now he's starting to come back. So glad tennis season's here. It's been a good, fun run. We had Marianne Dreva last week, or a couple weeks ago in Indian Wells, and hopefully we can cash this Zverev ticket here in Miami along with the Sabalenka ticket. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, some bad beats from the week here on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 125 here on the Watchdog Network, getting you ready for your weekend of action. You got sports every which way but loose, and it's just a good time getting you ready. Baseball, hard to believe baseball's here already, but it is here, so you'll be fired up for baseball season here. Bucko fever. But bad beats on the week. You can find numerous ones of these each and every week. Florida and UConn under 150.5. 3 at the buzzer by UConn. If you saw this, you saw Florida wasn't going to cover in the game. You're just sweating on and under. You're just praying it gets to the finish line. You think you maybe have it. If you had Florida in-game like I did 3 different times, 2 of those 3 got busted by this 3 at the end too. It was 77-72, and UConn throws in a meaningless 3 at the buzzer. It wasn't meaningless to all of us. Pre-flop, it was meaningless to the side, but not to the total. It goes over 150.5 with that 3-pointer late. That one stung a little bit. Probably the worst beat of the whole weekend, I will say, was this McNeese-Clemson game under. Now, if you had a number that came along later, you might have had a shot as it got bet up a little bit. So you could have got a 136.5 or a 137 out there, I saw. But if you had the 135 or 35.5, you had to be sick. So it was 31-13 at halftime. That's looking pretty good. Clemson was atrocious. And, we told you Clemson's guard sucked. We told you that all season. McNeese was a little bit live, but you didn't know how they would react after their coach was going to leave. So they came out flying up 31-13 at halftime, looking like you're going to have an easy under. But, oh, man, here all of a sudden when the game was basically put away, here comes Clemson. They make about 9 threes, it seemed like, in the last 6 minutes of the game. There was 20 points scored in the final 40 seconds of this game. This was ridiculous. It was pressure, 3-pointer. McNeese either got fouled and made free throws, or they baseball passed it and the guy dunked, which was never the right play because he could have just ran to the corner, ran off 15, 20 more seconds before Clemson had to foul him. But McNeese lost their minds. They scored layups when they didn't need to. The play was to just run the clock out. It was not to try to score more points, because if you're getting 2s and Clemson's hitting 3s, you're losing. They're cutting into your lead. So anyway, that was a poor job by Will Wade and his team. But it came down to the last couple of seconds there, and a guy lays it in at the buzzer to put it over in a meaningless. It was a 4-point game, and he laid it in to make it 69-67. So the game had already been decided, at least for the money line stake. And then McNeese was a dog in the game, so they were covering. But it got very squeaky there if you were on McNeese. I was sweating bullets, and man, if I had the under in that game, and I wasn't one of those games where I realized it at the time. It was like a minute or two later, I'm looking like, okay, the total wasn't impacted. Oh no, it was, because I was like, that just seemed like a dead under, and those points. 20 points in 40 seconds. Could have been so avoidable if McNeese just 2 times baseball passed it to the dude, and if he just runs and pulls it out, there's at least 10 or 15 more seconds run off each one of those times. Never would have got over. So frustrating times. And then to cap the weekend off, Colorado State. Man, we liked them against Maryland. Thought they could win the game outright. We had them plus the points, of course. We had a money line. And just when it looks like Colorado State's going to get a victory here, they run a wonderful play out of a timeout to take the lead by 1. And Maryland inbounds the ball, gets it up to half court, calls timeout. They set up a play. Their play was their big guy, their big freshman. He just dribbles to his left and travels. He takes about 5 steps, No call. He banks it in, and Maryland wins the game 72-71. Blatant travel. Frustrating that the referees wouldn't call that. To me, that's not like a judgment call. That's pretty cut and dry. It's either you traveled or you didn't. It's not like, well, did he beat him to the spot? Was it a block? Was it a charge? Okay, those are up for debate, but this was not. Clear travel, and Colorado State was the victim of it. A tough way to go out if you're a Rams backer. If you had them on the money line, it was a really tough one to swallow, but they got the job done covering at least. White Sox win total is set at 54.5. It opened 49.5. People betting it over just out of principle. The lowest preseason win total in 35 years of MLB win totals. Hard to imagine. In contrast, the Los Angeles Dodgers are the biggest World Series favorites in over 20 years. As the last time somebody was as low as them, they are 225 right now preseason to win the World Series. Was 2003 Yankees opened at 2-1. So can the Dodgers get it done? They got like an all-star team. It's going to be tough to knock them out of the National League, but you never know. In those series, you never know. Maybe whoever plays them early, if they get that bye, they sometimes get a little rusty, and you get into those series. Maybe team has pitching and things tighten up and things don't go well. And they got Mookie Betts who's sick, and I don't know what his deal is. So maybe he takes a while to get going. Bettor at the Hard Rock. Listen to this $5 parlay that he's got right now. This would be a hell of a sweat. $5 wager on this. He could potentially win $168,000. These were the legs that he's got in right now. He needs one more. He had Tennessee to win the College World Series last spring. They did. He had the Dodgers to win the World Series. They did. He had Ohio State to win the college football playoff. They did. He had the Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl. They did. Now he needs Duke. He got Duke at 11-1. He needs Duke to win the national title, and he will cash for $168,000 on a $5 wager at the Hard Rock. He has the cash out option right now. They're offering him $49,126. What do you think? Would you take that? I'd like to think that I would take that. I don't feel very confident in Duke. I would probably take that $50K and then go reinvest it in a couple of other teams to either make the Final Four or to win it all, and then maybe even get back to your $168K. But if you're investing $5, I feel like $50,000 of a return is pretty good. I know there's guys that swear you shouldn't hedge, but you need to lock in a profit of some kind. It's just the way you should do it, in my opinion. You'll find contrasting opinions across the sports betting landscape from professionals and bookmakers on whether you should do that or not. Obviously, the books like it when you do it because they can kind of get off the hook from a massive ticket. But $5, I doubt you were expecting to win $168K, so $50K seems like it would be pretty good. Florida's the only team in the Sweet 16 to be 0-2 against the spread so far in the NCAA tournament, so keep an eye on that one. We were victimized by them the other day, and probably will be on them, though, against Maryland. Ole Miss and Arkansas are the only two Sweet 16 teams to be underdogs in both games. We had them both times, and we liked these teams for a long time. Thought that their games would translate into March Madness, and they certainly have for sure. Favorites so far, 36-12, 26-22 against the spread. 36-12 was straight up. Unders, 27-20 so far in the NCAA tournament. Most bet sides heading into the weekend. Ooh, what do you think here? Florida, 87% of tickets on Florida minus 6.5 against Maryland. That scares me quite a bit. 86% on Michigan State, that is, minus 3.5. I'm happy about that one because I'll be on the other side of that one. 69% on Arkansas plus 5.5. Arkansas is starting to become a public dog. Don't really love that. 67% on Duke minus 9.5 against Arizona. 66% of tickets on Alabama minus 5.5. 66% on Michigan plus 9.5. And 65% on Kentucky plus 4.5. The 12-5-13-4 system wasn't that great this year. So if you did that, you had McNeese, you had Colorado State. Hopefully that got you back to close to even if you had them spread-wise in with the points, because we got none of the 13 seeds. High Point blown out, Yale blown out, Grand Canyon blown out, Akron blown out, all of them blown out. Maybe this was just bad seeding by the committee. 12 seeds, as I said, McNeese beat Clemson, Colorado State beat Memphis, Michigan, and UC San Diego. Tough break for UC San Diego, team we really liked here. Some really bad calls against them. Their best player in foul trouble the whole game. They lose the game by 3. got a push probably if you got to 3, but they didn't get the job done, and Liberty pretty much handled by Oregon. Dating back to 1997, we went over this last week, and I'll tell you who's gone from it and who still remains. With just one exception, 2014 UConn with Kemba Walker, the eventual national champion, was in the top 25 in offensive efficiency and combined offensive efficiency. Additionally, that champion also was in the top 50 of defensive efficiency, top 50 or better. And the teams that met the criteria: Florida, Auburn, Duke, Bama, Texas Tech, Houston, Arizona, Tennessee, and then the 4 teams that met the criteria who have already been eliminated: Gonzaga, Wisconsin, Iowa State, and Clemson. So if that theory proves true, Florida, Auburn, Duke, Bama, Texas Tech, Houston, Arizona, or Tennessee will be your national champions. Oh, that's a lot. Also going on right now in college basketball, the Elite Eight. West Liberty, though, bounced the other day. A blown lead of 18 points, an 18-0 run by the other team. Cal State Dominguez Hills was actually like a 25-3 type run that they ended up going on. Really, really took West Liberty by surprise, stunned them, and they kind of unraveled in the last couple of minutes there. That's one of the worst defeats that you'll see in a long time, at least that I can remember in West Liberty. I just don't remember them ever blowing a lead like that, especially on a stage of that size. I remember them coming back from deficits like that many times, but not blowing leads like that. That was very, very stunning to see. Nova now, obviously Nova was the clear front runner anyway. They were the betting favorite. West Liberty out now, so you got Washburn, Cal Dominguez Hills, and Nova Southeastern, and Dallas Baptist. Your 4 remaining teams there give Nova the advantage, but Washburn, very, very good. That game, well, I guess you'll know by the time this airs, Nova and Washburn will have played last night, so you'll know who got that job done and who is in the final on Saturday in the Division II Elite Eight in Evansville. All right, Aussie rules football's back, baby. Here we go. We'll summarize this for you here really quickly. Again, I got my Melbourne Kangaroos shirt on right now, celebrating the big win over North Melbourne last week. Well, Port Adelaide Power and the Essendon Bombers, that's a game you won't be able to get here because it's already happened. So BLS_PRP, if you want our plays each and every week, you want to have a little action when you wake up for work on Thursday morning, that's what you need. Port Adelaide and Essendon will be on our Twitter page. So BLS_PRP on Twitter or X. Western and Carlton also an early one on Friday, so you won't see that one. But 10:20 p.m. on Friday evening Eastern time, you got the Gold Coast Suns and the Melbourne Demons. It'll be Gold Coast -2.5 on the road here. The total 168.5. 3 of the last 5 in this series have went under the total. Melbourne comes in off a loss to North Melbourne, so they're a little bit frustrated. They're 0-2 on the season. The Suns are a team that's really hard to gauge. You just don't know about Gold Coast. They've been a team that we've had a hard time figuring out over the last few years. But I do like this game under the total of 168.5, and I am going to go with the Melbourne Demons to bounce back after a tough loss to their rivals. I think Melbourne tries to put the clamps on Gold Coast, who've had problems scoring in the past. And as I said, 3 of the last 5 stayed under in this series. So we'll go under 168.5, and we'll go with the Melbourne Demons. Richmond Tigers, we had them last week. They were humiliated. So I think Richmond, the deal on them is going to be they're going to play hard at home. They're going to suck on the road. But, man, I want to take them here again. Plus points against St. Kilda, who's off a really big win over Geelong. This is a massive letdown spot. They laid 27.5 points here. The total 173.5. Last 4 in this series have went under. But I'm going against the trend here. I like this game over because I think that St. Kilda's defense all of a sudden is not the strength of the team. It's the offense. And Richmond gives up tons of points, and I think that they'll compete hard and score some themselves. So we'll go over 173.5. I lean Richmond there, but I can't in good faith give out Richmond anymore. They're so bad, especially on the road. So we'll pass on the side there, but we'll go with the game over the total. Saturday morning, 4:35 a.m. Eastern time. It'll be the GWS Giants at the Hawthorne Hawks. Hawthorne -11.5, total 166.5. The Giants are 2-0. Hawthorne comes in 3-0. So you got a couple of teams off to very good starts. Last 5 in this matchup have went under the total, but I'm going to go against the trend here too. Both these teams very gifted on offense. Hawthorne might be the best team in the whole league. They've really, really, really impressed so far. We're going to over 166.5 Hawthorne and GWS. 4:35 a.m. on Saturday morning. Bounce as well. Geelong at Brisbane. Brisbane minus 12.5. Total 154.5. 4 of the last 5 between these two teams have stayed under. This is like a heavyweight battle right here. This is like a guys just bludgeoning each other. This isn't like a high octane fight, even though both teams can play that way. When these two get together, it's a very tactical and very just tightly contested matchup. So what I'm thinking is going to happen here, the total's 154. That seems a little bit low. We're going to play it under, though. I think this is another game that's going to struggle to get out of the 60s. I think these teams both going to want this game. They're both two of the better clubs in all of Australia, and I think that they're both raised their games up a little bit. Geelong, bad loss last week. Maybe they were overlooking. Maybe they were looking to this game. I have a feeling they might have been, because losing to St. Kilda, inexcusable in the way that they did. They charged late, but they were down most of that game. It was a bad performance. And then Brisbane, they played 2 pretty easy teams so far. This is their biggest step up in class. I'm going to take the points with the Cats plus 12.5. I'm going to go under the 154.5. I think Brisbane probably wins a tight one there, but I think it's a very, very good match on Saturday morning. Saturday, this will be Sunday morning, 12:20 a.m., late Saturday night if you're out and about. It'll be North Melbourne. Our Kangaroos on the road at the Adelaide Crows. Adelaide minus 39.5. Total 188.5. The last 3 in the series have had over 200 points scored in each one of those contests. So that would say the 188.5 total is high, but it's high for a reason. And the Adelaide Crows have now scored 135 and 161 in their 2 games this year, which is very, very impressive. So they come into this match, North Melbourne riding in high, and North Melbourne's not going to be a team that's going to be fat and happy with 1 win over a rival. While there could be a tad bit of a letdown spot, this is the chance for them to have their best season in a long time. They probably haven't won back-to-back games in 15 years. So I think they're going to be focused on this game. They're catching 40. That's too many. The Kangaroos are no longer a complete pushover in this anymore. So we're going to go over the 188.5, and I'm going to take that 40 with North Melbourne. I think they hang around here, maybe may lose the game by 20, but I think they compete, and I think they score some points against Adelaide, who's got a great offense, but they'll also surrender some points. And then the finale on Sunday morning, 3:10 a.m. or late Saturday night if you're out and about on the bar circuit. As I mentioned, it will be Fremantle on the road, minus 25.5, 167.5, the total against lowly West Coast. Last 4 in this one have went over the total. That's where we'll go here. West Coast is just so bad. That probably should just be a Fremantle minus about 45 or 50. Fremantle can win this game by 60, so lean to the Dockers, but I don't love playing them either because they're not very good. But I do like the over here. West Coast will probably surrender somewhere around 120, 130 to Fremantle, which would only mean they would need to score about 40 themselves to get this game near the total. So we'll take a shot with that. Hopefully we can get it over 167.5, and that's our AFL plays. Again, BLS_PRP. You can find all those, even the ones that don't make the show cut on Wednesday or on Thursday and Friday mornings. English Premier League returns this week. Been off for a little bit. We got EPL games starting. They don't play this weekend. That they play next Tuesday and Wednesday. So we're going to give you the plays that we have right now, 2 weeks away from Champions League returning. So very excited about that as we get down to the quarterfinals in the Champions League. So exciting stuff for soccer as we push down to the final stretch in our European soccer. West Ham at Wolves. This is on Tuesday, next Tuesday, 2:45 p.m. It will be Wolves plus 140, West Ham plus 210. I lean Wolves here. Last 4 in this matchup have went over the total. West Ham, as we talked about many times, they got a new skipper now, Graham Potter. They're not an offensive team, and if Jared Bowen's not scoring, nobody's scoring for them. So we're going under 3 in this game, and I lean to Wolves at plus 140, a small home favorite. Fulham at Arsenal. This is a London derby. It'll be London's finest. No, I hate both these teams. Arsenal minus 230, plus 650 on Fulham. I tell you, a draw is probably not a bad thing here, but I think Fulham to score, just minus 120. I think Fulham will score here. I think both teams to score as a play. 5 of the last 6 in this tie have been both teams scoring. So both teams have scored in 5 of the last 6. I think we'll keep that going here. And, Fulham hasn't lost to Arsenal in the last 3 outings. So that's a good sign. I would take a shot at Fulham, actually, at either a draw no bet or a Fulham or win or draw. But both teams to score, Fulham to score a goal, and I think you'll see an exciting London derby there at, I believe that'll be at Arsenal, the Emirates Stadium. So we'll see what happens. Manchester United and Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest plus 120 home favorite. Manchester United plus 220. How about that? You don't see that very often. 3 of the last 4 have went over the total in this fixture. And Nottingham Forest, one of the hottest teams before the international break. They had won 3 straight. I like this game under the total. Forest against at least the revered clubs in England, because I can't say all these clubs are good this season, but against the very top end, the noticeable clubs, the clubs who are normally good, the big dogs in England. Here's what Forest has done against them so far. 1-0 win over Man City at home. City, obviously not as good as they have been, but still a game Nottingham Forest gets up for. They drew 0-0 with Arsenal, who has had a pretty good season. They drew 1-1 with Liverpool, who's the best team in Europe right now. Or at least, well, they're out of the Champions League, so I can't say that they are, which I'm glad, but they're the best team in England, at least. We'll leave it at that. And then they beat Spurs 1-0 at home. So all these games, you get 1, 2, 3, 4 total goals against the 4 top clubs that they played at home this year. I like the under in this game. I think they take Manchester United very serious. I think Forest wins the game, something like 2-0. But I like the game under. I think this could be a very low-scoring game. Forest seems to bring it at home defensively. Wednesday's games, you got Villa and Brighton. Villa minus 120 at Brighton. Brighton even money. Brighton unbeaten in their last 7 matches, including a win over Manchester City. They've been playing very, very good. Home team has at least a point in the last 5 meetings. I like Brighton here at even money. I'd lean that way. Villa's played very well. They're very well managed. I like over 2.5 here. I think there'll be some goals. I think this is a 2-1 tilt one way or another. I think both teams score as well. Also on Wednesday, Leicester at Manchester City. Leicester plus $14. City minus $6. Leicester has lost 7 straight overall. We'll go with Manchester City on the Asian handicap. Minus 175, 1.75 or minus 2.25 would probably be the way that I would lean there, see where you can get the best price in that one. But not much in that game. It should be a City victory one way or another. Brentford at Newcastle. Newcastle minus 150. Brentford plus $3. Last 3 meetings between these 2 clubs, there was a 4-goal game, a 6-goal game, and another 6-goal game. So over's looking strong. 5 of the last 6 go over between Brentford and Newcastle. We'll go over the 3 or 3.5. It'll probably be 3.5, but I don't mind that. We'll also go both teams to score, and I'll lean towards Brentford. I think maybe even you play Brentford over 1.5 goals, you could get a good price there. It will be Palace at Southampton. Southampton at home, but they're a massive dog. Palace minus 150. Plus 425. I actually say massive dog because their plus price is decent. But Palace at 150 is an absolute steal. If you play Palace minus 1.25 on the Asian handicap, you're getting back like plus 130. That is a tremendous bet. That's like almost a 10-star bet for me, a suitcase bet. So Palace minus 1.25 on the Asian handicap is a must bet. Over 2.5 is a must bet. Southampton's lost 5 straight overall. Palace has won 4 out of 5 in the series. They should destroy them. I know this is at Southampton, but that's not much of a home field advantage. We'll go Palace, Palace, Palace. Next game, oh man, the Merseyside derby. These 2 teams hate each other. It is Everton at Liverpool. Liverpool minus 330 at home at Anfield. Plus 850 on Everton. That's outrageous. Total is 2.5. I'd say the draw at plus 390. Very good chance that could happen. They drew earlier this season. Liverpool's hit a little bit of a skid. They're not playing their best football right now. So Everton going to be much inspired for this, and I think that they could come through here. It was a 2-2 a couple of weeks ago at Everton, and now we'll see what the reverse fixture can do. I will say the only thing that does concern me is Everton have not scored a goal at Anfield since 2021, but they are better than they've been in those years. So I also think bookings over 4.5, you could see a bloodbath. Lots of cards, lots of fisticuffs in this one. Ipswich at Bournemouth, also a Wednesday afternoon tilt. It'll be Bournemouth minus $3, plus $7 on the return for Ipswich. Bournemouth minus 1.25 or 1.75 on the Asian handicap is the way to go here. They should take Ipswich out in a body bag at home. Spurs at Chelsea, the finale of the week. It'll be a Thursday tilt. Spurs plus 330 on the road. Chelsea minus 160. Chelsea have won the last 3 against Spurs. They won 4-3 in December. But I think this game is going to be an under. Spurs have kind of, I want to say they changed their tactics. They've become a lot more defensively responsible. So unders have had a shot with them recently. And Chelsea, really, they got some guys out of the lineup. They're not playing great right now. Cole Palmer was hurt. Jackson was out. So I don't know what kind of team they're going to be able to put out here on Thursday. Maybe this couple weeks break has given them some some new muscles and some, guys that are feeling better about themselves. But can't say that's going to happen. I'm going to go under 3.5 here in the other London derby, Chelsea and Spurs. And those are our soccer and AFL plays for this week here on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 125 here on the Watchdog Network. A couple other things to get to. Let's get to college basketball right now. We do have a couple horse races, but I don't have a ton to tell you about those. I'm going to have to play these according to what I have as far as weather goes, and I haven't had a whole lot of time to look at the racing program. But let's go through the games here on Friday. On Thursday, since you can hear this after the fact, you can laugh at me because I'm usually wrong. I went with BYU and Alabama over. I went with Florida minus the points against Maryland. I don't know what I'm going to do in Arizona, Duke, at this point. I really think Arizona's a square play, but man, if they would play like they did last week, they might have a shot. But 9, I don't know. Then Arkansas, Texas Tech. This is a game I'm really looking forward to watching. I think both these teams really good. Might lean under here, but I think the winner of that game is going to be a team that I'm going to have a good play on in the next round. Ole Miss, Michigan State on Ole Miss plus the 3.5. This game in Atlanta, I think Ole Miss has an advantage there. They're going to have people there at the game. I know Tom Izzo's a great coach, but Chris Beard is as well. I really like Ole Miss in the spot. They were a team we've talked about all season long about how good they actually could be, and they're starting to really put it all together. Kentucky and Tennessee. It's Tennessee minus 4.5. The total 145.5. Michigan State was laying 3.5 in that game, by the way, 144. Tennessee minus 4.5. Kentucky looking to beat them for the third straight time. Sometimes matchups are just strong for you, and I don't ever agree with that adage of hard to beat the same team 3 times. Maybe it is, but I'd rather have been the team that won both of the games than the team that lost both of the games, because I think that would mean maybe my team's just better than you. So I'll go with Kentucky here catching the 4.5, although that might be a square play too. Lots of public money showing up on Kentucky so far. Michigan and Auburn, it'll be Auburn minus 9, total 153.5. I do like the over in this one. Michigan's been running up and down, that is for sure. So we'll go with the over. I like points. And then this one worries me a tad. Houston minus 8, 132.5. This at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Really unfair for Houston. They guess they got to play a road game here, which pretty much is really bad for them. But I do like them. I think that their guards will torment Purdue, and I think they're just going to be a little bit too strong for Purdue. So we'll go with Houston. There's a tough number to lay in a game that's kind of a home game, but Houston's guard play and their defensive pressure on the perimeter, I don't think Purdue is going to be able to get away with some of the stuff they've gotten away with in their first 2 games. I'm not a Purdue backer. You've known that all along. I just don't think they have the horses to get the job done. So we'll go with Houston there. Again, BLS_PRP. You can find out all the picks. I may have some first half games, some first half bets in there as well. Girls basketball. This is the women's college tournament. WVU lays an egg the other night. Terrible performance by them. We got Duke, North Carolina. North Carolina was the team that beat WVU. We got Duke minus 5.5. That is this afternoon, or was this afternoon, 124. I was on Duke in that game. 5 o'clock tip if you're listening to this right before the game tip. South Carolina minus 17.5 against Maryland, 150.5. Maryland played a wonderful double OT game against Alabama. Tremendous game. One of the better basketball games I've watched all year, men or women. Great game. Maryland's going to be out of steam here, so we're going to go under 150.5. Probably lean South Carolina, but Maryland's savvy enough they can hang around, but under 150.5 in that one. LSU at NC State. LSU's tempo, wow, very impressive. They lay 3.5 here and in Spokane. The total 153.5. NC State shot the hell out of the ball at home, but can they do it in Spokane? Not so sure, but I think there's going to be points. There's going to be lots of opportunities for points in this game, so we're going to go over 153.5 LSU and NC State on this evening at 7:30. 10 o'clock p.m. tonight, it'll be Ole Miss and UCLA. UCLA minus 8.5, total 134. We're going over in this one as well. I like the way both of these teams trend towards an over. A little bit low there in the total, I thought, at 134. So we're going over with Ole Miss and UCLA. Saturday's games, Notre Dame. We're high on the Irish here. I like them in this matchup against TCU. They are the 5.5 point favorite, and they're the lower seed here. I think that's a good sign. I'll play Notre Dame minus 5.5 against the Horned Frogs in Birmingham on Saturday at 1 o'clock on ABC. Tennessee and Texas. Our friend Kim Caldwell doing incredible stuff at Tennessee. She's now into the Sweet 16. What a season she's had. Texas lays 8 here, 155.5. This is a really tough matchup for Tennessee. Texas just big and physical, and they've had their Tennessee's number when they played them earlier this year. I like under 155.5. I think Tennessee's going to have to pick their spots here. They're not going to be able to go at the breakneck tempo, I don't think, because they're just going to get beaten to death by Texas if they do that. But I doubt she'll change it, but I'm going to take a shot that maybe, just maybe, Tennessee's a little bit more guarded in their shot selection, and we go under 155. I'd love to take a shot with Tennessee in this game, but I just don't know if they can hang with Texas. Oklahoma and UConn. UConn 14.5 point favorites here, 153.5 the total. I like the over here. UConn's gone off to some slow starts. The other teams have been able to score. Well, I should say South Dakota State was the first game. Arkansas State was an absolute burial. They could have scored 200 on Arkansas State themselves. 153.5 the total here. I think UConn wins it. UConn now the favorite to win this entire tournament because of Juju Watkins being hurt for USC. So USC will now take on Kansas State. They're just a 1-point favorite now against the Wildcats on Saturday night at 8 o'clock. That one also in Spokane. So it's going to be a tricky spot here for the USC Trojans, but that ball's got to be in. Oh, jeez. Well, Zverev and Fields going south on us in a hurry now, big time. So we got problems. Zverev about to blow this. Set down in the chair, he was up 1-0, and now he's trailing in the third set. Oh no, 141.5 the total on K-State and USC. No real play there. I would say take an in-play approach on that one. Probably lean towards the under though. Without their best player, it's going to be tricky for USC to be able to mentally be ready for that game and physically be able to hold up offensively. Horse racing, we got two races, two big ones here this weekend, and I didn't have enough time to go through these and handicap them fully, so I'm going to give out a couple recommendations here briefly, but I'll have my full plays probably up on Friday or Saturday, BLS_PRP. So by the time you listen to this, you can probably check on the Twitter page, and I should have my finalized plays. I got to check the weather, which I normally do, and I did not get a chance to do. But it's the Florida Derby and the Arkansas Derby, both coming your way on Saturday afternoon. Florida Derby is a 1 1/8 race down at Gulfstream Park. It's a Grade 1. This is usually a race that you're going to have a Derby contender or Derby favorite a lot of times could come out of the Florida Derby. There's a few horses in here worth mentioning, but I'll go through the field here very quickly. Neocross, the number 1, he's 10-1, son of Neolithic. Safi Joseph and Edgard Zayas, he's at 10-1. Cool Intentions, the 2, son of Authentic, Jorge Delgado and Javier Castellano, team up for that one. Smokin' Boy, son of Catholic Boy, Cheryl Weinberg and Edgard Perez on the connection for that one. Disruptor, son of Gunrunner. He's a Todd Pletcher and Irad Ortiz, and he's going to try 2 turns for the first time. So a lot of times when you see a horse, it's probably going to be at one of the favorites at 4-1. It's the first time that he's ever tried to 2 turns, which is a big step in a horse's career. Some horses just aren't good at 2 turns. You don't have any way of knowing until they actually do it, and now he's going up against a pretty good class field here. So I would be a little worried about a Disruptor to win. I think he's probably going to be a use because it's Todd Pletcher and Irad Ortiz. And Irad Ortiz actually chose Disruptor over Jimmy's Daily, who is the 6th horse, which we'll get to in a minute. So Disruptor, probably going to be the favorite. You're probably going to want to use him, but I wouldn't necessarily single him if you're doing multi-race wagers because going 2 turns for the first time, some of these horses just aren't up to it. Indecisiveness, the 30-1, he is the 5th horse in this field. He's number 5. He has Ruben Sierra, the trainer, and Jorge Ruiz on board. Probably going to be a toss for me. Jimmy's Daily, the 6th horse, 12-1, son of Vacoma. Brian Lynch and Joel Rosario. This is a good tandem here. Joel Rosario, of course, takes over after Irad chose to ride Disruptor. This horse, contrastly to Disruptor, has went 2 turns. He did it back in February, and he got I think he finished second to the last horse we talked about, Indecisiveness, in an allowance race down at Gulfstream. So I think he's a little bit more proven, and we'll take a shot with Jimmy's Daily. He is definitely going to be in on our card, the number 6 horse in the Florida Derby, Jimmy's Daily. The number 7, Enter the Dragon, the 30-1. He is Jose D'Angelo and Dylan Davis on the connections for him. No, nothing really interesting stood out to me for him, but I got to look into his PPs and watch a couple of his replays. Matticat Road, 7-2. He could also be one of the favorites. Bob Baffert and Tyler Gaffalione connecting here. That is not something you see very often. Tyler Gaffalione probably hasn't ridden a whole lot for Bob Baffert, but wow, what a really good hookup here. Blinkers off for this horse. I imagine he's going to show some speed. Tyler Gaffalione, one of the very best here at Gulfstream, so I would say Matticat Road, the number 8, has to be included. Tappan Street, Into Mischief is his father. Brad Cox, Luis Saez, great tandem there. This was a very expensive purchase at the Saratoga yearling sale, so I'd say he's probably going to be contender here, and he did lead for a little bit in the Holy Bull, if you remember that, because we had the winner of, actually not the Holy Bull, we had the Fountain of Youth, which is the one that comes after the Holy Bull. So Tappan Street ran well in the Holy Bull. This horse, Sovereignty, 8-5, he may be the favorite here. I think that's way overpriced. Sovereignty, we played him, we got him at 8-1, and we got him at 8-1 for a reason. Bill Mott brings his horses along slow. Sovereignty probably having enough Derby points to hang in here and already make the field. So I doubt Bill Mott's going to have this horse totally cranked up here. That's just a sign of Bill Mott. He usually wouldn't have a horse cranked twice in a row. So I would be very careful about Sovereignty unless he's just vastly superior to all these horses. I'm not sure he'll win this. Manny Franco rides, though, and this horse won the Fountain of Youth, cashed a nice ticket for us here on Bettor's Last Stand a few weeks ago, if you recall. So I maybe use Sovereignty underneath. He might just have enough class to be able to beat these horses, but be a little cautious. Arkansas Derby, also a mile and an eighth. This one a G3. Actually, it's a G2. But it'll be at Oak Lawn Park. It's going to be race 13 on the card. Should go off around 7:30, 7:45 our time, something like that. Going through the field, you got Barreton's Baytown, 30-1, the number 1 horse for Paul McAtee and Marshall Menendez. He's got 10 starts. He's started his career back at Saratoga. Had some decent races, so I mean, I don't think he's terrible. He also has ran in Charlestown, so this horse all over the gauntlet. Probably a toss-out, but he does have some experience. First Division, the number 2, he's 20-1, son of Omaha Beach. Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez. There's a big-time hookup there. They were the Kentucky Derby connection that won it last season. So he's an Indiana bred, and maybe he stays out in the Midwest and does all right. Kenny McPeak, you can't ever dismiss his horses, but he's a major step up in class for him. Publisher, the number 3, 6-1, American Pharaoh, Steve Asmussen, and Flavian Pratt. That's a wonderful hookup there. Blinkers go on for him. I looked at this horse a while ago, and he seemed a little bit green to me. Maybe he's polished himself up a little bit, but he picked up a few Derby points in the Rebel. Not sure he's quite ready to contend yet with these horses. 6-1 seems a little bit light on him, but I'll watch his last race and see what I think about that. Best Friend Rocket, the number 4, he's 20-1. That's a son of Curlin, Dwayne Lucas, and Nick Juarez on the connection there. And this horse has had 3 different trainers. He started with Bill Mott, then he went over to Brittany Russell in Maryland for a while, and then he ends up back here with Dwayne Lucas. Not sure that's a great thing. Number 5, Speed King, 15-1. He is the son of Volatile Ron Moquette, or Rafael Bejarano, formerly one of the better jockeys out on the West Coast. He's now been in the Midwest for quite a while. He had a 10th place finish in the Rebel. People are saying he's a live long shot, but I looked over his PPs. They don't look impressive. I'll watch his videos to see if maybe something catches my eye. Maybe he had a bad trip or something. Sandman, the 6th, he's 3-1. Son of Tappet, Mark Cassie, the trainer. Jose Ortiz rides. And he sold for $1.2 million at the Ocala 2-year-old sale. So obviously a horse that people really like. He's got some decent races here at Oaklawn. Could be a underneath used, but 3-1. I don't think I'm going to be taking him. Monet's Magic, or Monet's Magic, 20-1. Son of Good Magic, Ben Colebrook and Luan Machado are the connections for that one. He needed 5 races to break his maiden. Maybe he's gotten a little bit better, but probably going to be a pass for me. Cole Battle, the number 8, 7-2. Son of Colefront, Lonnie Brealey, and Juan Vargas are the connections for him. And he's usually a closer. Maybe there's some speed in here. I didn't see a ton, but again, I gotta pop on the videos in the next day or two and check these out to see what I end up wanting to go with. 7-2 seems a little bit short. And then you got Cornucopian. Into Mischief is his father. Bob Baffert and Johnny Velasquez rides. This horse is the horse to beat. He sold for $1.1 at the Keeneland yearling sale. He's had a couple of very impressive wins at Oaklawn. The only thing that worries me is it's a little bit of a stretch out. Now, Bob Baffert, though, his horses tend to be able to carry speed in these stretch outs. Johnny Velasquez, best rider in the world when he's on the lead. So if this horse breaks well and takes the lead, probably a good shot. Cornucopian is going to come home with the win in the Arkansas Derby. But I will put my plays up at BLS_PRP, put up some exactas, some trifectas if you're interested. But 2 good races on Saturday afternoon on the trail to the Kentucky Derby. We're only really a few weeks away from that. It's hard to believe in the first Saturday in May. That's going to do it for us here on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 125 from the Watchdog Studios here in downtown Wheeling. Hopefully you enjoy your weekend. Hopefully you find some winners. Follow us at the Pine Room Studios on social media. You can go to pineroomstudios.com for replays of all of our shows, including this show, Bettor's Last Stand. You can go wherever you find your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can find Bettor's Last Stand, the Pine Room Podcast, and many of the other things under the Pine Room Studios umbrella. Tune into watchdognetwork.com for all the Watchdog action. We got WVU baseball in season right now. No more girls basketball, no more guys basketball for WVU, no more West Liberty basketball. So we turned the page here in basketball season. We got Wheeling Central in the books with the championship in the boys, and Monroe Central with the championship in the boys over in Ohio. So it won't be long. We'll be doing some lunch madness coming up in the coming weeks, and before you know it, it'll be football time here on the Watchdog Network. But stay tuned to the Watchdog Network all season long. Us Pine Room guys, Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. Tune in. We appreciate your calls on the Frio and Stack Watchdog hotline, 304-214-1600. Give us a shout. Let us know what you want to hear on this show or any of our other shows on the Pine Room Studios platform. We appreciate all the feedback as always. All right, well, have a great, wonderful, and safe weekend. Enjoy the Elite 8 Sweet 16 games and the girls and the guys, and we will see you back here on another exciting edition of Bettor's Last Stand next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.